Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I'm really glad you're joining us because, well, we've got a fascinating and frankly super important regulatory story to unpack. Our main focus today is just to simply explain the news. We're going to be looking at the recent massive crackdown by the Maharashtra Food and Drug Administration on specific products manufactured by Cadila Pharmaceuticals. It's a story about branding, chemistry, and above all, public safety. So let's just get right into it and see exactly what the data and reports are telling us. To really wrap our heads around the sheer scale of what we're looking at today, we've got to start with the numbers. And wow, they brilliantly illustrate the magnitude of this action. The state FDA didn't just issue a polite warning here. They seized medicine stock valued at exactly 2 crore 45,37,490 rupees. That's nearly 2.45 crore rupees worth of pharmaceuticals completely halted in their tracks. When regulators move to freeze millions of rupees worth of inventory across a major state, you know they've identified an immediate serious concern that absolutely cannot wait.
Section 3. The FDA Crackdown, Halting Cadila's Sales.
So what did this massive seizure actually entail on the ground? Well, the FDA took decisive action to completely bar the sale and distribution of specific Cadila drugs. They didn't just ask for a pause, they initiated a hard stop on these medications reaching consumers. The operation happened incredibly fast. On July 9th and 10th, the FDA carried out targeted inspections, zeroing in on the company's carrying and forwarding agent warehouses in key logistical hubs like Pune, Nagpur, and Bhiwandi in the Thane district. Right after those inspections, the FDA issued a sweeping directive ordering Cadila Pharmaceuticals to immediately recall all available stocks of these specific medicines from the market. Furthermore, they explicitly barred the ongoing sale of the newer variants of these drugs, effectively shutting down the supply chain right at the warehouse level. Now, as you probably know, a regulatory body can't just seize stock without a solid legal framework. The FDA made it clear that further investigation is underway, and based on their findings, legal action will be taken under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act of 1940, along with the rules framed under it. This is basically the foundational law regulating the import, manufacture, and distribution of drugs in India, ensuring that all our medications meet the required standards of safety and quality. Moving on to Section 6, A Tale of Two Drugs, Spot the Difference. Okay, let's really dive into this part because this is where the story gets incredibly interesting. Why exactly did the FDA use that 1940 Act to seize 2.45 crore rupees worth of medication? To understand the why, we have to look closely at the packaging and the marketing of the drugs in question. If we compare them, we have Asalok 150 and Asalok 300 on one side. On the other side, we have Asalok 150 Plus and Asalok 300 Plus. According to the FDA's findings, the company retained almost identical branding and artwork for both product lines. Literally, the only significant visual difference separating the older products from the newer ones was the addition of a tiny plus symbol. It's an incredibly subtle difference to the naked eye, but chemically? Oh, that is a whole different story. To understand the chemistry here, let's look at the API, or active pharmaceutical ingredient. It's exactly what it sounds like, the primary chemical compound driving the intended health effects. Everything else in the pill is really just a delivery mechanism or filler. The API is the engine. So originally, Cadila received approval to manufacture and market Asalok 150 and 300, using an API called ranitidine. However, the FDA notes the company later introduced the plus variants, Asalok 150 Plus and 300 Plus, and the API in these newer drugs is a completely different chemical called famotidine. The absolutely crucial point here is that under almost identical branding, masked by just a little plus sign, we are looking at two entirely different active pharmaceutical ingredients. Which brings us to a pretty vital question. Why does one little symbol even matter? I mean, if both ranitidine and famotidine are approved drugs, why would a near-identical box design trigger a multi-crore regulatory seizure? Well, the answer moves us away from the chemistry lab and directly into your local pharmacy. Section 11. The Medication Error Risk. Why this matters. See, the FDA isn't just analyzing packaging for graphic design critiques. They're looking at how a product actually functions in the real, fast-paced world of healthcare. The core issue here is the tangible risk of medication errors. According to the FDA's investigation, the situation compounded into a crisis because both the older ranitidine-based medicines and the newer famotidine-based variants were found to be available simultaneously in the market. They were sitting side by side on shelves. You essentially had identically branded boxes holding different chemicals circulating in the supply chain at the exact same time. The FDA outlined 3 specific points of contact where this deceptive similarity could cause a really dangerous error. First, doctors. A doctor prescribing the medication in a busy clinic might easily confuse the two if they aren't explicitly clear about that plus symbol. Second,
Pharmacists dispensing the drug could easily grab the wrong box from a crowded shelf, given the nearly identical artwork. And third, the patients consuming the medication at home might not even realize they've been given a different active ingredient than what they previously took.
Just to underline the severity of this, we can look directly at the statement from FDA Commissioner Tukaram Munde. He stated impartially, any confusion caused by a medicine's brand name that could result in doctors, pharmacists, or patients receiving the wrong drug is a serious public health concern. He went on to emphasize that compliance with the norms governing the branding, labeling, and marketing of medicines must remain paramount to ensure patient safety. It's a very clear declaration that clarity in medical marketing is absolutely not optional, it's a fundamental safety requirement.
Section 15, Enforcing Patient Safety, the Regulatory Fallout.
So how do we resolve this immediate threat? The FDA's rapid actions, the warehouse raids, halting sales, and the nationwide recall, are all mechanisms to instantly remove this confusion from the market. But it also serves to reinforce the strict guidelines governing pharmaceutical companies. The FDA made the rules crystal clear. Existing guidelines strictly prohibit marketing medicines with the changed composition under substantially the same brand name. You simply cannot swap out the main chemical engine of a drug, keep the box looking the same, and just add a tiny symbol. The FDA described this as a deceptive similarity in the brand names, creating the potential for patients to receive incorrect medication. Their preventative action was initiated entirely to safeguard public health against that specific risk.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer today. But I want to leave you with a question that makes this news incredibly relevant to your own everyday life. How closely do you actually read the symbols on your own medication labels? This FDA crackdown reminds us that when it comes to our health, the tiniest details, even a single plus sign on a cardboard box, can literally make a world of difference. It's a powerful reminder for sure to always double-check what we're prescribing, dispensing, and consuming. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay curious, stay focused, and keep learning.